you have just such an amazing community. You have such an amazing community, and I was just looking forward every single day. I couldn't wait to be part of the sprints and be with everybody. You personally were always so supportive. Your team, just amazing. So that's not on the bio there. Should have been.
Oh, sweet. That's so nice. So I again we're here with Stephen Shapiro, author of Pivotal. Give us your fundamentals for Pivotal, Stephen. Who did you write for whom is this book? Who did you write it for?
So this book was written for two different groups: the burned out executives who didn't have clarity on what decisions they should be making inside their organizations when the whole world was spinning around them, and sort of as a side effect of that, for the employees who didn't get the clarity they needed, and therefore they were stressed out, burned out, overwhelmed, and not achieving what they wanted to achieve. So it's really for anybody who's been just confused, especially since the pandemic, as to where to focus their energies.
And what is the core message of your book, Pivotal?
The core message is that instead of pivoting, which is about spinning around in circles, what you want to do is to be pivotal, which means to be irreplaceable or of crucial importance to your customers. And if you can become so critical to your customers that they have no other option than to do business with you, then you have a pretty easy job of staying in business and succeeding.
And what is the promise of the book?
The promise is that by the time you're finished with the book, you will have absolute clarity on what is an opportunity and what is a distraction and where you should be investing your energies to get the greatest returns.
Oh, wow. Opportunity versus distraction. I need that. I definitely need that. I get excited. I get excited about things, Stephen. So I don't know. I think I'm probably investing in some distractions sometimes.
I think we all do. And look, there's nothing wrong with distractions as long as we know that's what they are. We need to sometimes distract ourselves in order to have some level of sanity in life. If we're just always hyper focused, we're going to burn out. So I don't have an issue with distractions, but as an organization, when we make major investments in things that really we shouldn't be investing in, then it's going to hurt everybody in the long run. And I just, for me, I want to create an environment that thrives so that people who have jobs keep their jobs and love their jobs.
Love it. So, just a couple notes for if you are new to our community. On Monday nights, we love to give positive comments in the chat for the author, and we do share the chat with the author. So, we hope that you will join in the fun. I see some regulars here who know the drill, and so if you can follow along with them, authors like to see what resonates with people, and it's really cool when all of a sudden everybody's commenting on the same thing and it really shows an author what's working and what isn't working. So we'll refrain from noting anything that isn't working because that's not what we do here. We celebrate the positive. Will you set up the first excerpt, Stephen?
Sure. So I decided, because stories without context don't make sense. So I decided to choose something from the introduction, which really just sets the stage for what the entire book is about. So I gave you a little bit of a preview of that, but I just thought I would maybe go a little deeper into it, a little bit of an analogy. One of the things that I do a lot in the book is I use basketball as an analogy because we talk about pivoting. Well, when I read it, people understand what I'm referring to.
Okay, take it away.
All right. So this section is called The Planted Foot. Picture a basketball player executing a pivot. While one foot moves in a circular motion, the other remains anchored to the ground. The unsung hero is the foot that doesn't move, providing the solid foundation and stability needed for effective pivots. In the context of innovation, this planted foot represents the deep, unyielding roots of history, customer insights, product knowledge, and trust that give us the foundation for which to navigate change. This book champions the power of the planted foot, teaching you how to cultivate lasting relationships with your market to create enduring value. By focusing on what doesn't and shouldn't change, you build a robust foundation that supports future shifts without wasting valuable resources on fleeting fads or needless upheaval. Plant, then pivot. The emphasis has always been on what's next, But sometimes we need to focus on what's now. Where do we double down our efforts to achieve extraordinary returns today and tomorrow? Being pivotal comes from a place of power. Being pivotal is about deepening relationships with your market to create long-term sustainable value. You need different skills to live in the world of the planted foot as an innovator. With the moving foot, you must be able to see ahead, predict the future, ride the waves of fads and trends. And it's difficult because without your crystal ball, you might be making wrong decisions at every turn. But the planted foot cares about stability and provides the vantage point from which to see ahead. It cares about depth and relationships. You're in it for the long haul. Instead of shallow and shifting, this foot is deep and rooted. It's important to note that the planted foot is not inherently better than the one moving in circles. It's not about stability versus movement. You need both. Long-term success and enduring competitive advantage are achieved by striking the right balance between movement and steadfastness. This book provides guidance on how to identify the areas where you and your organization should focus your efforts to deepen your roots. The concepts within provide a foundation that allows you to get the leverage you need while positioning the other foot for a shift when needed. Pause the perpetual pivoting. Newton's first law of motion states that a body in motion stays in motion. The business corollary is a business in motion stays in motion. Although the concept of pivoting has been part of business for decades, its pace was significantly accelerated by the pandemic that began in 2020. This rapid shift introduced a whirlwind of change, leaving uncertainty in its wake. The dizzying movement from such relentless pivoting has become an endemic aspect of business. As predicted by Newton's law, momentum propels this change forward, and it shows no signs of stopping. Of course, there are times when pivoting is necessary, but an environment of constant change can be exhausting and unproductive. Moreover, pivoting on quicksand provides no stability for the organization. You can't move forward when you're stuck swirling. It is for this reason that I wrote Pivotal. I saw the uncertainty and worry in the eyes of my clients as they wondered which changes to make. Where should we invest to get the most significant impact? How much should we focus on emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence or the metaverse? What changes should we make to remain relevant in an unpredictable environment? Regrettably, many opportunities were just distractions in disguise. I also saw the negative impact of this non-stop spinning on the employees. Change fatigue and a lack of consistent direction created burnout, confusion, and disengagement. This book is the antidote to the incessant pivoting. To be clear, I'm not against change. In fact, as you will see, I'm a big fan of doubling down and providing more value to clients. The key is ensuring the movement is purposeful and built on a solid foundation. The critical distinction is deepening versus distracting. Does the change enhance your existing business and allow you to provide more value to customers? Or is it a bright, shiny object that doesn't align with what matters most? The third option. Innovation is critical for any organization. Our ability to adapt, evolve, and change to meet new realities is crucial. However, these shifts should come from a position of strength that's grounded in a solid foundation. They should not be like a feather in the wind, floating aimlessly in all directions. In today's environment of heightened competition, increased volatility, and growing uncertainty, we must establish roots that provide stability. We often assume that there are only two options that exist for innovation: pivot or persist, change direction or stay the course. But there is a third option that involves going deeper. The key is to identify ways to leverage what you do best to create maximum value for our customers and become critical to their success. This leads to less spinning and more winning. In a world where adapt or die has become the rallying cry, pursuing the next big thing is relentless. The promise of novel ideas, products, and technologies is intoxicating, but is pivoting for pivoting's sake the answer? This is a moment in history when being pivotal meaning being of crucial importance to our customers, is more vital than simply pivoting. Rather than spinning in circles, we should provide customers with lasting and significant impact. So I'm going to stop with that part right there.
I mean, there's a lot of people excited to hear what you have to say. I'm really was struck by when you said that now change is endemic. Since the pandemic, we're just expecting it all the time, and now it's just a way of being.
Yes.
And you're calling on us to plant our feet.
Absolutely. Can I share a picture? I can do it in my screen.
Oh yeah. Do I need to do a share
Okay.
screen?
No, nope. I'm just going
Okay.
to do
Well,
it
I
like
did
this. I'm down
anyway.
here in the corner. Okay.
Huh.
Well, I'm not going to share a screen. I'll just be here. So one of the things which I love is, again, to me, the distinction is pivoting versus being pivotal. And the first 5 letters are the same, but it's really those last letters that mean so much. So if we were to look at pivoting, what it tends to mean is going around in circles. It's the change in direction. Our focus is on what's different. Whereas if we're pivotal, it is about deepening. It's about that depth of relationship that we build with our customers and our clients. And as I said, the key message here is that being pivotal doesn't mean changing direction. It is about the value you create. It's about being irreplaceable or of crucial importance to your customers. And so I always like this sort of metaphor. It's also why when we did the cover of the book, the cover of the book is actually a little unusual in terms of the way we wrote the words, and there's sort of a spiral going down. Maybe it's too subtle for most people, but for me, it was important to capture the essence of planting the foot and going deep rather than spinning around, which is what most people think about pivoting.
I love. Do you have more drawings for us today?
I got lots of
Was that
drawings,
it?
sure.
Okay.
I've got a
That
lot
was
of them.
fun. I love it. I love that little switch up. Um, so y- in your book, you talk about, and are you going to end up talking about innovation targeting matrix in one of your excerpts? Is that,
I have it here, but I wasn't sure. I figured we could sort of dance with it, so I
I
can
just
dive
wanted to,
into that.
if you would just share a little bit about
Sure.
what that is.
Sure. So for that, I will come back to my slides here. So I'll put myself in the corner again. Hopefully you can still see me. And if you don't see me, pin me or whatever, so you can get the full screen here. So the essence of this, before I start drawing, I'll tell you that the background is the hypothesis that I have is that inside of organizations, all of the work we do falls into one of 3 different categories. And I want to be clear, these aren't departments, these aren't functions, these aren't people, these aren't jobs, individuals, roles. These are activities. And these are activities that everybody and every department will perform. And so it's these 3 different levels. And this is the innovation targeting matrix. So the first level is what we call support. And support activities, again, not departments, support activities support the business. They don't create customer value, but they create value because we need them to run the business. We need to keep the lights on. Payroll is a great example of a support activity. We need to do it, but unless you're a payroll company trying to have the world's best payroll system, probably makes absolutely no sense. So for things that are support, you want to, well, first of all, you always want to ask yourself, can I eliminate it? Many meetings are support. Customers don't care that you have meetings. They don't add value to them. It's not something they say, you have better meetings than everyone else. Get rid of the meetings, minimize the meetings, keep it as efficient as possible, and where you need to, outsource. So payroll, you're going to outsource to a payroll. So that's pretty basic stuff. It's the next 2 levels which get a little more interesting. The middle level is core. Core activities are the ones that are table stakes. It's not why someone will do business with you, but if you get them wrong, it will be the reason they leave you. So I was just in a hotel. The Wi-Fi wasn't working well. The room wasn't as clean as it could have been. The hallway was a disaster. Am I going to stay at that hotel again? Probably not. However, just if the place was clean and had working Wi-Fi doesn't mean I would stay with them. To me, those are the table stakes. Those are the expectations. We have to get them right, but we don't have to be the best. They just have to be really, really good. So again, trying to be the best at it doesn't make sense. So for something that's table stakes, there are typically options such as partner with others, find a third party that you can work with. A lot of hotels, they go to a hotel management company. Most of the hotels we stay at, we see the name of the hotel, but it's actually not owned by that hotel chain. It's managed by them. They've outsourced all of the services to that hotel chain. We can automate, we can use best practices, we can optimize. But basically, the goal for core is to have them as a well-oiled machine so that we can differentiate. And the main message of this book is to innovate where you differentiate. You can't be the best at everything, because if you try to do that, you'll be great at nothing. Therefore, what you want to do is find out what your real differentiator is. And that's really a core of the book, is what is your differentiator? And then how do you leverage that for competitive advantage? And what I find is most companies spend way, way, way too much time on things that are core. And especially in a world of AI, I'll just give a quick thought here on AI, is most companies are investing so massively in AI, yet for most companies, AI is only core. It's the table stakes. Your customers are going to expect you have it, but the fact that you have it isn't a differentiator unless you are an AI-centric company. And I see way too many companies losing sight of their differentiator, chasing the bright, shiny object of AI, rather than saying, what's a strategy I can use to get AI enabled without taking my eye off the ball? So anyway, that's the innovation targeting matrix in a nutshell.
So then when we're pivoting versus being pivotal, are we getting all tied up in knots in these lower quadrants, doing all
Typically.
sorts of change things in areas we shouldn't really be messing with?
Absolutely, because there's always new opportunities and new distractions, whether it's AI or the metaverse or whatever it is. But if you're a hospital, your differentiator is probably the way you provide service, whatever it is. And it's going to be different for every organization. Uh, so the main message of the book is, if you're going to innovate where you differentiate and you get clear on your differentiator, you use different strategies for anything that's not a differentiator, and then you double down. You put most of your energies. And in fact, when I look at most companies, they spend, if we ignore support for a moment, they spend 80% of their energies working on core. I was just with a client where they talked about every initiative that they're investing in. 100% were core. They had zero differentiating. So if most companies are only spending about 20% there, there's a whole bunch of strategies I won't get into right now, but the goal here is to try to figure out, how do we reprioritize our investments? Sorry, I was drawing while I was in the corner there. How do we reprioritize our investments so that we're going to get the greatest returns, because not all opportunities are equal in terms of the impact they have on the business.
So we're planting our feet, not, so the key is to plant your foot in how you differentiate and then to double down in that, as opposed to spinning
Exactly.
your wheels in all these other areas.
Exactly. Because your
Okay.
differentiator should stand the test of time. The whole point of a differentiator isn't to say, well, I differentiate on this today and then tomorrow it's something else. Your differentiator should be that constant. And a differentiator, I think maybe one of the next things I'm going to read gets into that a little bit, is a differentiator isn't a product, a service, or offering. It is a capability. It's an ability you have as an organization that allows you to create new products and services to meet future needs. But you have to hone those capabilities, and they have to be something that nobody else can do.
Oh, okay. You have me thinking. I wanted you to show that matrix because I think it's helpful in understanding. It's one thing to say we get what you're saying about being pivotal, but then how are we supposed to apply it? And how do we know where to be pivotal? So that was really, really helpful. Why don't you set up this next excerpt, or is it just a continuation? Are you in chapter one, or where are you jumping
No,
to?
I'm going to move to chapter 2 right now. Chapter 2 is called Let's Get Pivotal. And it has a nice little thought. Yeah, you can imagine me with a headband doing some aerobics. Uh,
Yes.
so This is a thought exercise I've used with my clients over the years, and it really gets them to understand what we mean by a differentiator. I mean, the whole book is really just, you know, the layers of the onion in terms of describing it, but this is just a thought experiment. So I'll go through this, and I actually will put up a slide at one point because it will be useful for people to actually see what I am talking about. So let me just get that slide ready. Where are you? There you are. Excellent. Good. All right. So I'm going to dig into, let's get pivotal. Chapter 2. What's most important to your organization? A challenge for many organizations is to know when to pivot and when to stick with it. It's not always obvious where to focus on change and where to plant your feet. But getting it wrong could mean spinning in circles, or even worse, destroying something that has traditionally been of great value to the organization. This is an issue that would keep executives up at night if only they knew the impact. I remember a meeting with a client team that was struggling to prioritize their investments. They asked me to give them an example of how others go through the process. I decided to try a thought experiment with them, and I asked them to imagine that they worked in a property and casualty insurance property and casualty insurance industry, which offers insurance for cars, homes, and similar items. To get them started, I gave them a list of some common processes for the insurance industry. And I'll pull up the slide just so people can see it. And the common processes are develop products and services, customer service, manage revenues, manage distribution channels, market products and services, underwriting, claims fulfillment, manage the provider network, and plan and manage the enterprise. Slightly different than my chart here, but you get the idea. So, and I'll have each of you, as you're like listening through here, when you look at this list, what do you think is most important? Without having any other information, what does your gut tell you would be the place to target your innovation investments? I asked the group, what is the most important process to an insurance company? In other words, if you worked in this industry, where would you invest the most money? The first response from my client group was claims fulfillment. Claims fulfillment. And I asked why, and they said, because this is why customers get insurance in the first place. And this makes sense. Customers buy insurance so that if they have a claim to file, they will get paid promptly. I responded, claims fulfillment is indeed a very important process, but it is not the most important one. Someone else then suggested manage revenues. Why? They said, because this is how the company makes money. Again, I commended the person for their response, but let them know that it was still not the most important part of the business. This continued for a while until nearly every process had been suggested. Some people then hedged their bets and said, all of them. Nope. If you try to be the best at everything, you'll be great at nothing. The final attempt was none of them. This was a clever response, but it still wasn't correct. At this point, I stopped the group and I said, the answer is 2 words. It depends. It depends. There is no universal part of any business that is most important. Every company in every industry should respond to this question differently. This is your competitive advantage. Unless you are already the market leader, if your differentiator is the same as the competition, that could be an issue. Consider 4 insurance companies serving relatively similar markets. State Farm. Competitive positioning for State Farm depends on an exclusive and extensive network of agents and offices. Its wide geographic coverage is reinforced by the company's motto. I'll actually sing it for you because I like when I do speeches, we have a little karaoke time. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Okay, whoa, that was a little pitchy. Okay. The firm differentiates itself from the rest of the pack through this slogan and network. In an age when most companies have replaced the human touch with internet-based services, having a local, personal presence nearly everywhere has secured State Farm's position as the largest insurance company. They've captured 10% of the overall property and casualty market, 18% of the automotive insurance premiums, and 21% of home insurance market. Pervasiveness is their path to profit. USAA. While State Farm relies on geographic coverage, this would not work for USAA. Their customers are members of the military and their families. Given the potential transient nature of their target market, USAA's business model transcends geography. For example, they were the first to develop technologies that allow members to deposit checks from their cell phones, a convenience for those serving overseas or far from a bank. To better understand their members, they hire extensively from the military community and offer free financial advice to those who are being deployed or returning to civilian life. And its survivor relationships team helps family members cope with the death of a loved one. The company's mantra is serving those who serve. With this focus, year after year, USAA has ranked number 1 or 2 in terms of customer service when measured against any company across all industries. Each year, USAA retains 98% of its members, and 92% say they will never leave. Pure. Their target market is high net worth families. Given this, they provide an extraordinary level of service. This is evidenced by a story they shared with me. A family experienced a fire in their living room. Sadly, it was during Christmas time and destroyed everything, including sentimental keepsakes that the parents had collected from their travels. Unlike other insurance companies that might give the policyholder a check and say, good luck, Pure temporarily relocated the family to a home comparable to their own. The company then restored their home to its original condition by hiring the contractors and managing the entire process. The amazing part is that Pure agents studied the pictures the family had of their collectibles, and they searched the internet to find replacements. The goal was for the family to move back into their home with everything the way it was before the fire. And finally, Lemonade. Founded in 2015, Lemonade is almost the exact opposite of State Farm. They are primarily a technology company with no local agents. Pretty much all business is conducted online, including quotes, purchases, claims, and bill paying. Their model is also somewhat different. According to their website, quote, Lemonade reverses the traditional insurance model. We treat the premiums you pay as if it's your money, not ours. With Lemonade, everything becomes simple and transparent. We take a flat fee, pay claims super fast, and give back what's left to causes you care about. End quote. They are a certified B Corporation, which means they give back to the community. So what's the most important capability for State Farm? Its distribution network is crucial because it serves a wide segment of the population by offering local support. On the other hand, USAA is focused on customer service for the military, regardless of geography. For Pure, one source of differentiation is its exceptional claims fulfillment for high net worth families. And lastly, Lemonade differentiates itself on technology and its B Corp business model. The point is that capabilities that are differentiating for one organization may be less critical for another in the same industry. All 4 of these companies are in similar businesses, but each concentrates on a different aspect to achieve a competitive advantage in the marketplace. Although the examples above may seem simplistic, they make an important point. To maximize your investments, you need to determine what's most important to your business. In other words, innovate where you differentiate. Find and leverage your differentiator to go deep, a deeper connection to your roots and a deeper connection to your customers' needs. This is the area of your business that will yield the greatest returns. This is the planted foot and is key to how you become pivotal. And to determine what matters most to your organization, you must first determine what's most important to your customers. So I'm just going to go a little bit more and then I'll stop this section, but this is probably my favorite story in the whole book. And the subhead is differentiation is not a product or service. Why do customers flock to you and not someone else? What makes you special? What separates you from the competition? It's not about specific products or services, but rather the capabilities you possess that create value for your customers. It's a sustainable engine that keeps you competitive over a long period of time. It's the stability your organization needs to limit constant shifting. When seeking stability, look no further than Radio Flyer. Established in 1917, the company is renowned for its iconic The Original Little Red Wagon. Over the years, Radio Flyer has diversified its product line to include tricycles and scooters. However, it's not the products that make the company special, especially given the presence of many lower cost competitors. Their differentiator lies in their focus on high quality products that evoke a sense of American nostalgia. It's a wholesome company with strong roots. Robert Passon, the current CEO and grandson of the company's original founder, is so passionate about Radio Flyer that he's affectionately known as the Chief Wagon Officer. In defining their differentiator, he emphasized emotion over products. He shared with me, quote, "I ask our customers and almost everyone I meet questions that focus on the brand rather than the product. What does Radio Flyer mean to people? What emotions does it evoke? How do people describe their experiences with it?" Strong themes emerged. Usually the first thing people do when they hear Radio Flyer is smile. The next thing they do is share a story. Stories about their wagon being a race car, a rocket ship, a submarine, a motorboat, or a magic carpet. Listening to these stories, I encountered themes of outdoor play, sunshine, green grass, wind-blown hair, laughter, love, and cherished memories. Given this feedback, we articulated our purpose. Radio Flyer exists to bring smiles and create warm memories that last a lifetime. That encapsulates what our brand means to people. We transitioned from making wagons to fostering smiles and cherished memories. This realization gave us a broader and more exhilarating purpose, marking a pivotal mindset shift that spurred our growth. End quote. They sell a feeling, not just a product. And that feeling is irreplaceable. No one else can replicate it. And that is the ultimate differentiator.
I love that story. How did it spur their growth? I'm curious. What happened?
So when they got totally clear that they're not in the wagon business, and every person inside the organization has a deep understanding of their job is to bring smiles and create lasting memories, it shifts everything. So for example, you call up customer service and you have a problem or you want to buy something. The job of customer service, of course, is to solve the problem. But every person had total clarity that when the customer hangs up, they solve their problem, but more importantly, that customers should have a smile on their face and have a lasting memory of that interaction. When they designed their first store in Chicago, yes, it looks like a retail store, but it's very, very different because again, it wasn't optimized to sell wagons. It was optimized to create the ultimate experience. So everything they go for is to make sure that when people leave the shop, whether they buy a wagon or they don't, they leave with a smile and have a lasting memory. And if you think about the power of that in an organization, when every single person has clarity on something that no one else can bring to the table, it's a game changer.
Okay. Thank you for that follow-up. I was curious about that. All right, I've got to ask you because toward the end of the book, you shifted in a direction that, given your vast business experience, surprised me. You talk about differentiation in our personal lives. That was a big shift. What do you mean? How does this pivotal way of thinking, this approach of planting your feet and then differentiating in that space, how does that apply to our personal lives?
So for me, this is actually the most important part of the book, even though it's at the end and it maybe takes up the least amount of real estate. I think look, we live in an environment where we as individuals don't have clarity around what we should be investing in. I don't mean money, but our time and our energy. And so one of the frameworks in the book, the main framework beyond the innovation targeting matrix, are the 5 Ds of differentiation. I'm just going to bring them up real quickly just so I can explain it and talk about it in the context of what it means to be pivotal in your own personal life. So I'll pull this up again so people can see it. We're just going to go straight to the punchline. If I were giving this as a speech, we'd do this very differently, but there's 5 Ds. And the first 2 Ds are really about how can you be differentiated today. One of them is to be distinctive. Now, distinctive means that you do something that no one else does. It is the different and differentiated. but it also has to be desirable. Being different for the sake of being different doesn't mean that people are going to want to do business with you. You don't become irreplaceable just because you're different. You have to be a combination of different and incredible value. Now, value goes two ways, and I'm going to mention both of them here because when it comes to being personal, it matters. There's external value, which means our customers value it, but it also has to have internal value. So as an organization, it needs to be something that's going to generate wealth for the organization and create jobs and all the things that people want. But as an individual, it has to be something that creates internal value. What I mean by that is it's got to be something we love to do. So if you just take those two D's right now, what you want to do as an individual is figure out what you do better than anyone else in the world that you absolutely love to do, that creates the greatest amount of value for the world. And if you can focus on that, you've got a winning combination. And if you can marry that with durable, which means it will stand the test of time, and we won't go too deep into it, but basically all 5 Ds matter. But when you get into your personal life, it's always useful to step back and say, like, for example, my differentiator isn't that I talk about innovation. A lot of people talk about innovation, but I'm a magician. I'm a musician. I'm an engineer. My degree is in engineering. And when you take all those unique experiences and aspects and put them together, it influences me and the things, the experiences I've had that I can offer in ways that other people can't. And so each of us, whether it's our personal lives or our work lives, we need to step back and say, well, what is it I do better than anyone else that no one else in the world can do, that the world needs and I love to do? And when you get that combination, it is so incredibly powerful.
Do you have an example of how applying that in your personal life and
So in
the
my
impact it might have had?
Yeah, so for example, like let's just take the internal desirability. There are times when I've made decisions that weren't aligned with my internal desirability. It wasn't my compass. So in an earlier book of mine called Goal-Free Living, which is on how to live a life without goals, the general concept of that is we're too focused on maps. We're too focused on the destination. And so the general concept of goal-free living, and actually I'll actually just read a little bit here because that is the beginning of the differentiation in your personal life. In my earlier book, Goal-Free Living, How to Have the Life You Want Now, I commissioned a study and discovered some intriguing statistics. Take the chart off. That suggest the life we live might not always be the one of our own choosing. One prompt in particular was quite telling. The question was, I sometimes get the feeling that I'm living my life in a way that satisfies others, friends, family, coworkers, more than it satisfies me. More than 50% of the people surveyed say they either agreed or strongly agreed with that statement. And at an individual level, often we choose to invest our time in endeavors that might not be our own. Who we are in life is a function of our past experiences. They shape and influence us, and in some cases, they can limit our ability to see the world with fresh eyes. Applying the concepts from this book to your personal life can help you uncover and utilize your innate gifts. This will enable you to identify areas where you excel and feel energized, something that truly ignites your passions and sets you apart from others. These abilities are not typically the ones you learn to be good at, as those often drain you of your energy. Rather, they are natural talents and strengths that you are born with. And I can keep on reading, but that's, the essence of it is we get so focused on where we're going that we don't take enough time to take stock of maybe what's the next step. So instead of using a compass, instead of a map, use a compass. Instead of having a specific destination, have a general direction of where you want to go. And then my favorite line, and it's probably the title of my next book, is called Meander with Purpose. And the whole point is it's just, if instead of trying to say, this is where I need to be in 5 years, and I'll give you a personal story. So in 5 years, the reason why I became an author and a speaker is because in 1996, November of 1996, I'd been, at that point, I'd been working with a world famous author and speaker, Dr. Michael Hammer. And in the business world, I mean, he had the second best selling business book in the history of business books. In 1996, Time magazine selected him as one of the 25 most influential people in the world. I mean, this was the guy I wanted to be. And so I worked with him and I had a notebook and I said, uh, this was November 1996. I said, in 5 years, I want to be the Michael Hammer of the next wave. Whatever's after reengineering, I want to have a book and I want to be giving speeches and traveling the world. And so I use the traditional approach of, okay, if that's where I want to be in 5 years, where do I need to be in 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, 5 weeks, 10 weeks, whatever. And it was like 10 pages of stuff that got me stressed out and I ripped it up and I threw it in the fire. But I kept that one thing and I never did anything with it other than in 5 years, I will be the Michael Hammer of the next wave. 5 years to the day, 5 years to the day, my first book, 24/7 Innovation, was published by McGraw-Hill. That was the day I left Accenture. It was the day I launched my business. Now I'm not on Time Magazine's most influential people list. I don't have the second best-selling business book in history, but I achieved it because I didn't have a blueprint for getting there, but rather I allowed life to unfold. And every day I made decisions, different decisions, things that weren't on my plans that took me in completely different directions, things I enjoyed, because my compass is always going to be what I love to do, what creates value, and what I do better than anyone else. And if I focus on those, I'm going to always be successful. So that's
So
a
there's a
personal story for me.
so it correlates with this book. It's a natural offshoot of Pivotal.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. I mean, your compass really is the 5Ds become a compass if you want to look at it from that perspective. And your
Cool.
differentiator
I'm
becomes the
excited.
thing which you use.
I'm excited that you're always working on something new, Stephen. I think that's great. I have a question for you, but then we're getting questions about why the color purple. What's up? What's up, Stephen, with the color
All right.
purple?
So the color purple, to show you this is not a virtual backdrop. This is a geode that I got. Hopefully you can see it. This is a geode that I got when I was a young kid. And it was closed. There was two pieces to it. And when they cracked it open, almost everybody else's geodes were just quartz, like clear quartz. And this was purple, and I became mesmerized by it. And ever since then, purple has become my favorite color. But also, when I was working overseas, I was told that in some countries, purple is the color of innovation. So that seemed to fit. And when I came out with my previous book, which was Invisible Solutions, which is also purple, uh, before we went with purple, I went to the Barnes and Noble, went to a whole bunch of them, looked in the business sections, and there were 3 business books that were purple. Purple Cow, which
Purple
was trying to make
cow.
a point, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which really isn't a business book the way mine is, and the Harvard Business Review's collection of innovation articles. And I thought, no one else is using purple. Now, maybe there's a reason, but I liked purple. And now you go to the bookstore, there's a lot of purple books in the business book world, but mine was definitely one of the first because I looked everywhere to find purple books. So it's my love of purple, it's my passion, and I decided to go with that.
Good, good answer. So I do want to ask you real quickly because I want to be mindful of the time. You have another excerpt that you really wanted to read, so I want to make sure you get a chance to do it. But
And
go ahead.
I don't have to. I mean, I don't have anything that I'm like desperate to read. I
Okay.
think we got some of the key concepts, so I'm good with the reading.
Well, I want to talk to you about something that I think, there's a lot of authors here tonight. And when you were in sprints, you became very, very focused on the editing process. And I know we're following my method, all 17 passes, bless your heart. Um, it works though, right? And
All of it.
and then you also went through Rob Fitzpatrick's editing process that he does, maybe another one too. And I'm curious about why you decided to put yourself through that gauntlet. And if you could just share a little bit about that.
I mean, you were the main inspiration for it because when I heard the line write for someone, not about something, I had sort of that, V8 moment. It was like, holy crap, every book was just me pontificating about concepts without really keeping the reader in mind and keeping what their pains and problems and issues and opportunities are that they have. And so that was the first thing, which was just a major shift. And it took me, I'll be honest, in the early days, I wasn't too happy with my progress because it was so foreign to me to write that way.
Mm.
And then when I started doing that, though, I started to question myself a lot. So Rob's stuff really fit nicely because, uh, his process, and I used his software, and basically his process was, if you're not getting to your beta readers at the point where you would be absolutely 100% embarrassed for other people to read it, you've waited too long. So I did 3 rounds of beta readers, got literally about 1,000 pieces of feedback, which was torture, but incredibly valuable. And the book is just infinitely better because I'd gone through all of those steps. I mean, I look back at the early versions of it, and I maybe would even be embarrassed to be talking about the book based on the way the early versions were. So it was that 1-2 punch that was so important. And every author, the first thing I say to them before they do anything is read AJ's book, and read write useful books. And that's, if you read, write a must read, and write useful books, that's 95% of what you need to at least get you going. And everything else is just tactics.
So are you happy with it then? I've got to ask because you labored, man. I mean, you were toiling away. So are you happy with the results?
I am. I'm happy with the results. I think, as is the case with pretty much everyone, the second the book comes out, you wished you'd change certain things. But I was at the point where I knew I was going to have diminishing returns if I continued. And so, I mean, it took 2.5 years. This is by far the longest. Visible Solutions, I think, first version to draft version that I sent out to early readers was like 3 months. This one was about a year and a half to 2 years before beta readers even saw it, because I didn't write a must read early enough, I think, is part of the problem. So, and then I had to redo things. So, but yeah, I'm very happy with the way things came out, and the reception has been very positive.
I'm so happy for you. You really were dedicated. All right, so this is a question that I ask all authors at Monday Night Reading, which is what is the change you want to see in the world because this book now exists in the world?
So I think most people, when they read the book, focus on the corporate stuff, but it's where we ended the conversation, which is really where my heart always lies, is impacting individuals. And I just think we're living in a time where there's less certainty, less predictability, more confusion. And the change I would like to see in the world is individuals having clarity on what makes them special, what they bring to the world, so that they can leverage that and multiply that with the gifts of others and end up with hopefully a better place. So that's really my ultimate hidden goal, even though that's maybe not as explicit to someone who reads the book.
Well, right, because they don't come in with that goal, right? But you want to get them there at the end. It seems to me you're teaching us that we should lean into the things that we do really, really well instead of trying to constantly change ourselves. And when
Absolutely.
you talked about not having, so your previous book, one of them was about not having these intricate goals. Now you're saying plant your foot. You said your next book is Meander with Purpose, and I'm sensing a theme where you would really like us to stop being so hard on ourselves and
Yeah.
constantly trying to be more when we don't need to be, or different when we in ways we don't need to be, or shinier or faster or better, or some sort of arbitrary set of requirements. And I'm guessing I'm getting this theme, this overarching body of work theme for you, that you really just want us all to be kinder to ourselves and to lean into who we really are. Am I getting close?
100%. I mean, in an environment of social media, we look at what other people do, and then we start to replicate what everyone else is doing, which is exactly the opposite of differentiation. I mean, if we're copying, one of my other books is called Best Practices Are Stupid. We spend our life trying to copy what other people do, what other companies do, what other teams do. And for some things, it's useful. But if our soul and our essence is just a replication of what someone else has done, it's not us. And so, if we can really choose the things that make us authentically us and leverage those, and again, it's not just, I love to do this, therefore the world should, bow down at my feet. No, you've got to create value. So you've got to have, it's that intersection of, distinctiveness, internal desirability, external desirability, and durability. When you get the intersection of those, you have a pretty powerful offering that you can bring to the world.
Wow, I feel like I know you so much better, especially because you shared about previous books and the book coming out. And it's rare, Stephen, that a person truly has a body of work that all intersects. Usually I see authors where they're sort of doing the thing that you don't want people to do, which is, well, I should write this one next. And everyone thinks I should write that, or this makes the most sense, or this shiny object. But what I'm getting from you is a deep purpose in your life that you're fulfilling through authorship, and that your work has an arc of understanding. And that's I'm really impressed with that.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. I think every book does fit together nicely. Sometimes it wasn't the intention, but they do in hindsight fit nicely. And I think it's just because I'm not trying to chase the next fad. I'm not trying to chase the next hot topic. I'm not writing books on AI because everybody's writing books on AI. I choose what I love to do and what I'm good at, and I know I can do really well. That I see the pains that people have, and if I can solve somebody's pain in a way that is authentically me and what's true to my nature and my love and my background, I figure I can only be doing the right thing.
That is beautiful, and we couldn't end on a better note, Stephen. This was a very special Monday night reading. I love that you did the show and tell. I love that we talked about your body of work and not just pivotal. Everybody, please get a copy. Please, please, please review. You can review the book now, incidentally, because you just listened to part of it and you had some key takeaways, and you can go do that right now. You can just take 30 seconds. Stephen, thank you. It was so wonderful to have you here. And everybody, this will also be up on YouTube. So if you ever want to watch it again and learn more about Stephen. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming to Monday Night Reading. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, everyone.